Hi, welcome to CS World TV. If this is your first time, please like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Today, we take you to our reunion segment where we will highlight some of our teachers for reunion 2023. Our first trailblazer is none other from the North Union Secondary School. We have none other than Mr. Kenroy Johnson, and he is currently engaged in teaching as well at the American University of St. Vincent School of Medicine. Mr. Johnson, welcome to our first Trailblazer and happy to have you on the program.
All right, thank you very much for having me, and good night or good evening, wherever you might be.
All right, it's a pleasure to have you. Mr. Johnson, if you can take us back to the days where just before you were a teacher, or you had the idea or the thought came to mind that you might be ending up as an educator.
All right, that would go way back, a long, long, long time ago, since I was 14 years old.
Wow.
14. There was a system in place at the time where students went through the primary school system. They did an exam at the end of that period, school leaving examination. And if you were successful, you sometimes got the opportunity to start teaching as what was called a pupil teacher. All right, where you taught for part of the week and you attended training sessions for the rest of the week. For example, at the first grade level, you taught 4 days in the week and you went to a special center, the teacher center on Wednesdays. At the end of that year, you did an exam, and if you're successful, then you become a second grade teacher. You teach on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. You attended the session, training sessions on Mondays and Tuesdays. Exam at the end of that year. If you're successful, then you teach on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you attend the center on Thursday, Friday. And exam at the end of that period. And if you're successful, then you become a teacher who taught for the entire week. I think they call it then a student teacher. That's how I entered. Incidentally, I actually passed school events when I was 11.
Wow.
Too young to teach. And then when I was 12, still too young to teach. And then there were persons on staff who tutored me and sent me for that first year teacher's exam, which I passed. So when I turned 14, I actually started teaching as a second grade teacher, not the first grade teacher. That's how I started.
Wow. So at 11, when you passed that exam, that school leaving exam, you had to wait until you're 14, so you had gone back to school.
I just continued in school.
Oh, wow.
I just continued there because there was no place else for me to go. So I just continued in school. And what happens sometimes, if a teacher was not there, they might take me and ask me to sit in with the class for a period of time and so on. So I assisted there. So when sometimes I meet people who are at my age, and then when I refer to them as a past student of mine, I mean grandparents and so on, some people would smile or laugh and say, "You taught those old people?" Yeah, because I was literally teaching people who were my own age or even a bit older than I was at the time.
Wow. So what kind of motivation was that though? Because I think in your mind you would have been going through like, okay, I don't need to do anything else. I passed at age 11, I passed this thing here. What was the motivation for, again, to, what's the purpose of going on again, continuing if you had passed already?
Well, an 11-year-old just, goes along with whatever the teacher say. But I remember they actually wanted to send me back a third time for the same exam. And I said, no, 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 no. I don't want to do it again. Because there were persons who were coaching me to sit an exam at a different level. So that settled for that. That was the 4th year teacher's exam. And then I was successful and then started to teach. I just turned 14.
Mhm.
I started teaching.
Oh, okay. What was your motivation for, or what was your background like coming up to be able to achieve such academical success at such a young age?
Um, I grew up in poverty. I mean, poor at the time. Just today I was sharing with some folks, my background. And I remember um, at one point I was offered the opportunity to go to Bishop's College, Georgetown. All right, that was a secondary school right here in Georgetown. And I said, no, I don't want to go there. I want to teach.
Wow.
I want to teach because I figure teaching is going to provide me the job. I'm going to make some money. I'll be able to help myself, help my family, and so on. So I opted to wait to teach. And there was this experience I had. There was a cousin of mine who had passed school events at the same time. We passed the same year. And he went to Bishop's College, all right, and went through the 5-year cycle, got his subjects. And we actually ended up at Teachers College together. And I had it as a joke that he went to school, here we are at Teachers College together. I worked and made money, and we're there together at Teachers College. So I believe it was that. I mean, the fact that coming up in a poor background and wanted to excel, I really, really wasn't satisfied with just falling by the wayside.
Well, I can tell you we're glad you took that route because I know we're not there yet, but um, at North Union Secondary School, you were highly rated. I'll get into the highly rated part later on when we get up there. But when we put out the poll for nominees, unanimously you were there. People just chose you as a teacher. But like I said, we're gonna touch that part later on when we get up. What school was your first teaching job at?
Dixon Methodist School. That school has a special place in my heart. Small school in the small village of Dixon.
Oh,
I lived in Georgetown, but decided I wanted to go to Dixon School. And I believe deep down it's because my father was the headmaster at Dixon Methodist School. So I probably just wanted to go to the school where he was. That's Alban Henry.
okay, Albert Henry was your father. Yeah, I think I believe there was some connection with you and Henry. I wasn't too sure if it was your uncle or your father, but because it's been such a long time. And so you were at Dixon for how long
1 year.
before? Okay, and then after that you moved forward.
I was transferred to Georgetown Primary School, taught there for 1 year. Then
Okay.
I was transferred to Sandy Bay Anglican School. I did
Well,
2 years there. Then from Sandy Bay, I was transferred to Lanley Park Primary. I did 2 years, and then during that period of time, I would have been attending evening classes, writing GC subjects, got sufficient subjects, and then I went to St. Vincent Teachers College. I think that was in 1977. I went to the Teachers College, graduated in 79, and then I went to North Union from there.
okay, so you went to North Union in 1979.
Yes.
Okay. What was it called then, though? Was it North Union Secondary or North Union Junior Secondary? Because I know there was an
It
argument.
was North Union Junior Secondary School at the
Right.
time.
Okay, because I know someone had a discussion on that. It was called Junior Secondary. And
I,
so what?
I I actually got a story that it was called a junior secondary school because it was not meant to go all the way up to fifth form, but I met a professor at Kayfield campus, and he was telling me that when the students got to third form, they didn't know what to do with these students. They didn't know what to do with these students. They said, okay, let's just upgrade the school and call it a secondary school. Let it go all the way up to fifth form. I'm not sure how true that story is, but that's the story he gave me. All right, because it was not the only junior secondary school at the time. There was one at a Delphi Junior Secondary School. That's that village just above Bible. And there was also one at Tromaka. All right, so I think those were three special schools that were given to the government from the government of Canada. So North Union happened to be one. So it just became a secondary school. So it was not North Union Junior Secondary, but it became North Union Secondary, and then students just continued up to fifth form.
Well, thank you for that part of the history, because a lot of us went to North Union Secondary School, and we didn't know that part of the history where it was a junior secondary school. So was it then your father was the principal of that school at that time as well?
Yes, Alban Henry was the principal at that time. So he is the one who actually set the groundwork. Right, and he decided on a number of things, the programs and all of that. And he was into music, he was into sports. And I believe the tone was set for North Union during those early years. That's why North Union excelled at music festivals. North Union excelled in sports, especially netball, because the principal then, Mr. Henry, he was the one who actually training netball teams and that sort of thing.
Wow.
And so we had that reputation.
Right. So just to touch a little bit on Mr. Alban Henry for those folks who may not know, anything or know little about him. And correct me if I'm wrong. I think if I'm right, he wrote the lyrics or composed the lyrics for the national anthem, or make the composer.
No, he did not do the national anthem. It's Fonette and Miguel. I think those are the two names that come to mind or involved. One did the music, one did the lyrics.
Okay. So what role did he play in the national anthem, though? Because I think I heard his name was associated with the national anthem.
He, as far as independence is concerned, if you know that song, Hooray Independence, Hooray, Hooray Independence, he wrote that.
Oh,
He wrote it while he was principal at North Union Secondary School, and the choir performed it at the Independence Rally. All right. So North Union Secondary School choir would have been the first choir to sing that song because Alban Henry composed it. And it wasn't the only one. There was another medley that he had composed. I remember playing the guitar on stage for those performances. Sometimes I hear Hooray Independence being performed, and sometimes it sort of gives me bad feeling because it's such a distortion from the original thing.
Right.
While I was principal at Georgetown Secondary School, I actually did some corrective measures. As a matter of fact, in order to find the lyrics, I contacted a number of persons who were in that original choir. Joan Ryan happened to be one of those persons. Joan Ryan from Diamond, because she was in that choir. Right. And there was somebody else I contacted. I can't remember who that second person was. And together we were able to put the first verse of Hooray Independence together again. There's a second verse, but nobody seemed to be able to remember it. So apparently that's lost because even the children, my brother Neil and my sister Kurt, they don't have the lyrics for it. It wasn't the time when they had computers to store things. So that's lost. So I was able to put the first verse and the chorus together, and I taught it at the school where I used to be principal. So at least they have more or less an authentic version in terms of the melody and not the distortions that we have most of the times when you hear people sing it. at Independence Time.
Wow.
All right.
So, yeah.
And he did not do the national anthem, but he also was instrumental in writing a number of folk songs. For me, one of the best folk songs coming out of St. Vincent is Moonlight.
Mhm.
You know Moonlight?
Yes, I can't remember it exactly, but being a part of North Union and as well,
Yeah.
if I have to jump ahead as well, I remember you as well. You were involved hugely in music at the
Yes.
North Union Secondary School. My first ever choir that I ever joined, now that I was ever involved in, was North Union Secondary School choir, where you, the guitarist, and Miss Bala was also instrumental in that choir, the junior choir.
Miss Bala was the person I brought in to help with the diction and the
Mhm.
pronunciation
Yes.
in the performances.
Yes, yes. I remember we went about and we did the Candyman.
Listen
And we
to
were, we were we were making multiple trips to the Russell Cinema,
yes,
to the go. I
because
remember those days vividly.
Candyman just blew things up for nothing.
Mhm.
I couldn't understand why. We it was actually selected, it was actually judged as a song of the festival.
Mhm.
Uh,
Mhm.
It
Mhm.
was so well done, and I couldn't understand why because I was usually at the back playing the guitar and giving you all the cue when to start and so on.
Yes,
But then the
yes.
audience just saw the thing. So it's actually one of the high points of
Mhm.
my experience at North Union
and
Secondary School.
and for me, because if I have to, this interview is not about me, for me to give my story. I actually cried not to go to the North Union. That's how I looked at the school at that time, right? Because it's a country school, and it wasn't so huge on the map. For me, those time the school was just stepping up, was just growing, and people started the school started being recognized when we were making those multiple trips to the Russell Cinema. And then I think the senior choir with the folk and the folk music and all that, they started to follow, I think. And we were North Union became a school with respected for its music.
Yep. And then for public speaking,
and
Glenn
and
Brown,
for public
Jack
speaking.
and
And
Archibald
yes,
did,
Glenn Brown.
they did so very well.
Yes, and we were coming to that, but it was just the part because we were talking about music there, because North Union have really touched the highs in those
Yes.
times. I think it would have been the late 80s, coming up to the late 80s, but like you said, it
Yes.
started a little bit earlier on.
Yeah.
And we were in netball and music and public speaking, and then the academics jumped into play with North Union and started to get respectable CXC passes and GCE, and started to send people to the fifth forms in grammar school and stuff like that. Agricultural science started getting 100% passes, and
Yeah.
it's just an amazing time at the school. Mr. Johnson, you reached North Union, and you became very instrumental in pushing forward the music, especially like morning devotions. You would remember Mr. Johnson played the guitar for "He's Everything, He's Everything." At one time, I actually thought that you wrote that song, and that song belonged to you.
In the stars, the sun, the work I sing. Yeah. Beautiful piece.
Because when you remember, if you had gone to North Union, if anyone who had gone to North Union in your days, um, they would have remembered you playing that guitar with "He's Everything," along with, you know, some days, and Charlo would be playing the piano, and but Mr. Johnson was famous for the
For the
guitar
guitar.
part of the music. You know, did you at that time, did you interest in music apart from your father being a musician?
Um, my being in music actually started at that same school where I started to teach, Dixon Methodist School. There was a guitarist on staff. As a matter of fact, he was one who was instrumental in preparing me for that first year teacher's exam. All right, and he was also a guitarist, and he actually taught me to play the guitars. He taught quite a number of us to play the guitar. But even before that, I played a small, I think the quattro, you call it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I remember a group of us would gather at evenings on my street in Georgetown, and we had about two or three of those, and we tried to play all the calypsos and the songs that we know, and we sing and just have fun. So it was like graduating from the quattro to the guitar, and it just took off. I think I developed a style that was unique to me because I mean, people were just fascinated by the way I played the guitar. Um, as a
Yes.
matter of fact, I can't think of anybody. I have not really seen anybody who played the guitar in a similar style to the way
Mm-hmm.
I played it.
True.
So
So, so okay. So now, apart from the music, now you taught several subjects at North Union Secondary School. Tell us some of the subjects, and I know you were hugely involved in sports as well. I've seen you as a fast bowler while practicing cricket.
yes,
And I know you had a very strong interest in cricket as well. Tell us, so without leaving out any of it, tell us some of the subjects that you have taught, because we just want to show your versatility in the teaching, because you have done it all pretty much, at North Union Secondary School, and I know you like right now you continue at the medical university. So tell us some of the subjects that you taught there, and some of your what would have been some of your favorite subjects to teach at North Union.
listen to me. I taught almost everything there was to be taught, except foreign language. I remember when I taught English, I was an English teacher. I taught integrated science. I taught human and social biology. At one point, I taught agricultural science. Um, I did some maths in the law forms. So I taught quite a number of subjects. Doing that at a secondary school, it's sort of difficult because, in a secondary school, you have quite a bit of specialization. And if you're spread too thin, then it sort of takes away from it.
Right.
I enjoy the teaching English, except for the marking of the things. But I must say that my favorite subject was human and social biology
Mm-hmm.
because I would have done biology, and I still believe biology is probably the best of the sciences because that's what I teach at the medical school. Biology, you get deep into how the body works, even at the
Right.
cellular level, and so on. So I would have taught that wide range, but my favorite, my favorite subject was human and social biology. I did integrated science as well. As a matter of fact, just before I left Norton, I was actually teaching general biology as well. The general
Mm-hmm.
biology is a bit more challenging than the human and social biology. Because at that time, general biology was introduced. So I taught that for a number of years. English, I've had some very, very interesting experiences in my English classes, like when I was in poems and we are trying to wrap our minds around the poems. And
Mm-hmm.
there are some students who are so good at interpreting these things. I remember there was one particular girl. I threw the question out. I wasn't even sure about the answer. And Colleen, Colleen Tommy, I think.
Colin Towie.
Yes, I don't know if you remember that child.
Yes, of
And
course, yes.
I said, wow, she is so good. I had to compliment her, but I didn't tell her that. I didn't let her know that I was still trying to grapple with what should be the response to that particular issue. And she just hit the nail on the head. And I said, wow, she's so good. Sometimes it depends on the experiences we have.
Right.
Gives you enlightenment on certain issues. But as I said, my favorite were the sciences, especially human and social biology.
Right. So my favorite subject was human and social biology, and really not because I'm talking to you,
Mm.
but I think you were my best human and social biology teacher. I knew you as an integrated science teacher. I think that was my first encounter with you as a teacher to a student, as a student to a teacher. I knew you as an integrated science teacher, but when you taught human and social biology, I I I really got to like that subject. I loved it. I loved it. I loved it. Um, if I have to share my experience with you a little bit, though, I didn't know you as an English teacher until I got to Form 5 when you taught us English just before the CXCs. And fortunately or unfortunately, I migrated just before the CXCs. And just allow me to give you this little experience when I came to Canada and I had to do my placement test. We were doing sports with you, and my topic for essay was sports, and I think I had done well. So I decided to take the shortcut like I would usually do in my whole life, take the short way and the easiest way and do my placement on the essay sports. And when I was finished, the two teachers who were looking at it, they looked at it and they were looking at the paper and look at me and they were trying to figure out. And there I was like nervous as hell because I wasn't the favorite English student. Maybe I wasn't even in the top or 15 top English student, but somehow like essay writing and those stuff, they got my attention. So maybe that's why I think I was doing well at it. Um, anyway, they were looking at the paper and then they finally called me over and they asked which country I was from. And I told them St. Vincent at that time, no, not the Grenadines, I just said St. Vincent. And they said, who was your English teacher? Just like that, as though they would know you. And I said, Mr. Johnson. And one of them said, so you have a lot of good English teachers there. And at that time now I felt so confident. And I said, yeah, we have a lot of good English teachers there. And they told me like, this is good. This is very, very, very good. With this, you're supposed to go to level 5. But according to the Canadian law, we cannot send you straight there. We'll send you to level 4. So since then, I think my confidence just, blew over the hill and I gravitated a lot towards the English language, and I didn't know like like I had that in me, as an English student to write and stuff like that. So even to this day, like people want something to write, I write it, just like that. So it was like a hidden natural talent I think I had that I didn't know that I have. So thanks to you and your skills, your technique, I'm happy to say publicly thank you for all that you have given in teaching. Because sometimes we take these things for granted, and don't realize that the skills of an educator can really instill in you or bring out in you what you don't even know that you have in you. And sometimes we take it that we're from a small Caribbean island like St. Vincent and stuff like that, that we don't, we're not up there, but we are up there. And educators like you deserve to be highlighted, and for that, the alumni of the North Union Secondary School, we're so happy to have you as one of the honored. And it's not just a selected group of people who chose you. It's a unanimous decision where, votes were handed out and it was confirmed that Ken Johnson made a significant contribution to the lives of so many students at the North Union Secondary School. So thank you from the bottom of my heart and I'm saying thank you for everyone who can't possibly say thank you, Mr. Johnson,
Wow.
for all that you have done, not only in English, but everything. And I'm sure we can go back to the primary schools and up to where you are currently. I think everybody appreciates you.
It is part of what I find so very satisfying about the teaching profession. When you hear these experiences, when people share these experiences, and then you realize, the sort of impact you would have had on people's lives. It's touching. Believe me. And it gives me a certain level of satisfaction to know that I would have contributed. And I still am willing to contribute because you talk about the English. As I said, I enjoy the teaching English. I
Mhm.
mean, when I getting into the meat of the matter, essay writing, sentence construction, and those sort of things. I still remember a lot of this stuff I teach in English. I still remember it. And so to hear you say that,
Mhm.
very, 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 very satisfying. As a matter of fact, I know that they're too well, they're not really young men anymore. They're both retired. They actually had passed school events and started teaching. They went through a similar route as I did. And I remember they had come to me for help in English language, which I did. And then they just moved on. I mean, one became the principal of a technical institute, one became the deputy principal of a secondary school. As a matter of fact, I remember at one time he served for a short while as deputy principal to me at my school. You know, when you see these things and you realize that you would have made a contribution, it is very, very satisfying. So
Mhm.
that's the reward.
Yeah, and Mr. Johnson, I'll say it here though. So as you may or may not know that I'm the president of the alumni reunion committee. So I do ask around questions about teachers, and we do discuss you guys as you know as teachers, like who was what and who was what. And one of the things about you though is that you were very strict, and you were like you were well respected, very strict. But the good thing is though that you did not have to show any bias or unbiased against anyone. Like people, students just went to your class and they know that they had to perform, and you never like really have your, even if you did have your favorite students, it was never really visible. Like you couldn't see it. So I'm not saying that you did have, and you probably did have, like everyone, we're all human. But I think you treated everyone equally, and gave everyone an equal opportunity in whatever classes you were involved in teaching. So correct me if I'm wrong, or maybe highlight a little bit what the importance of your style of teaching to gain that respect, and at the same time not being biased towards anyone who's willing to learn.
Um, Even now, when I'm teaching, and I teach young people, I still teach young people because some of these foreign students who come across from Nigeria and Ghana and so on, they're pretty young. As a matter of fact, there's one youngster in my class. He's only 16 in my class this semester. All right, and all the things that I usually tell them, I say, listen to me, when I'm teaching, I am a very selfish person. I want all the attention. I want all the attention because just a little distraction in my class could put me off. Hence, my insistence on students paying attention and things of that nature. I want to make sure because I'm there to help you to understand things. And if you don't listen, if you're doing other things, then there'd be a problem. I'm not sure how I would have made it in this time when there's so many cell phones around and so what I do at the institution where I teach now, well, for the last 2 years, it has been mainly virtual. All right, we use the same Zoom program in order to teach. So, like this morning, I taught from my office here to students who are still overseas. But in class, when we were doing face-to-face sessions, there were times when I tell the students, bring all the cell phones here and put them on my desk. So the
Wow.
phones are on my desk and I do my teaching because I tell them your focus should be on me and on the screen where the presentations are being done. So, and I don't have a problem with that. Students don't have a problem with that. I think I noticed even in the ratings I get at the institution, I'm rated very, very highly as one of the
Mhm.
teachers there in my biology course. So you can be strict without being abusive.
True.
I believe that. You don't have to be abusive. And it reminds me of one or two incidents that I experienced. Well, not me, but the students, when we were practicing the Candyman for the music festival. Sometime, because remember, we did the practice mainly during the lunch hour. Students went, grabbed their lunch, finished,
Yes.
we went to the lab, we did our
Mhm.
practice, and then sometimes you went there 2-3 minutes after the bell, and there were some teachers who didn't let you guys in at all.
Yes, yes,
They
yes.
just couldn't understand. And then when we did so well in Candyman, everybody got the praise. The entire school got the praise. No,
Yes,
union got the recognition
yes.
because we actually did the song of the festival.
Mm-hmm.
What did that?
Mm-hmm.
So you
Well,
can't be strict without, taking advantage of students. I believe that with all my heart.
mhm.
So
Okay. So, what would you say to students now? Like, so we have reunion 2023 that's coming up. And obviously there are students over 30 something years. We haven't seen you and we haven't seen each other as well. But what do you think students should expect in terms of interacting with Mr. Johnson at the reunion? Of course, we know you're a nominee for you've been honored at the reunion. What do you think students should expect in terms of interaction with Mr. Johnson? Because I know in the past, Mr. Johnson, people have always been Mr. Johnson, like I said, was a very strict teacher, but in terms of interacting, you kind of be shy to go and interact with Mr. Johnson. And like I can see, you haven't changed. You haven't even changed physically that much, you know. So the age is treating you really, really
uh,
well. Maybe some of us might even look older than you know.
I wish.
You
But the thing
know?
about it is that we are all adults now. As a
No.
matter of fact, I relate quite well. Somebody like Joan Ryan. Well, I haven't seen her in quite a while, but we had a pretty good relationship. She was working at the CWSA. As a matter
Right.
of fact, I remember one time she actually had referred somebody doing a master's study to me to do some editing of that thesis, a master's thesis and so on, because she was trying to find somebody. And then someone just said, oh, let me ask Mr. Johnson. I guess maybe from the English thing.
Mm-hmm.
Junior secondary school, and they were very pleased with the job I did. I meet students from time to time on the street. As a matter of fact, I ran into one about 2 weeks ago. I was in town, so we were talking about age and so on. And she was saying, Mr. Johnson, would you believe me that I usually have to use a stick to walk? So I said,
Wow.
if I were to meet you with that stick in Kingston Market, I would laugh so much. Because I said, what is young you doing with this thing? So, yes, I interact with past students quite often because I say we are all adults now, all adults, and I'm pretty open. And of course, I still insist on certain things when I'm dealing with young people. I still insist on certain things. I still believe that when I'm in front of you doing what I'm supposed to do,
Mhm.
I need all your attention. So
True.
yeah, but I'm open, and I'm really looking forward to meeting some people. I wish Royston Matthias would have been there.
Mhm.
I don't know whether you know Royston. I wish Jack
Oh,
would.
Jack is no, not to cut you off.
Uh,
I tried so hard, and I know he's in Toronto, very close to me, but there is nobody that I know who's in touch with our Jack because when you tell a North Union story, you have to include our Jack
yeah.
in a North Union story.
Jack was in Red House, and his
Yeah.
sister was in Red House, and I was one of the teachers in Red House, and
Mhm.
I really enjoy those kids. Believe you me.
Right. We're hoping that after this reunion is successful, that at least we can meet again maybe in another 2 or 5 years time again and always, keep this unit, close. So we're just hoping that with the success of this one, that other because obviously there are people who like to come, but they because of work or vacation time and stuff like that, they're not able to make it. So we're hoping that we can have another opportune time where people can would be able to make it to that as well. But like they say, nothing beats the first.
That is it.
But
That is it.
right, and this being as far as I know, very historic in that everyone else has tried to have a reunion, but they weren't able. Like, yes, people have had, little gathering of, a few people and stuff like that, but never in terms of a whole school body have
Yeah.
a reunion in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So, um, if you have to encourage people or alumni to come out and stuff like that, what would you or what do you have to say to them again? Because just you and I reminiscing here as well is just it brought smiles to my face, and I know
Yeah.
it brought smiles to your face as well. Just to mention briefly of what happened at North Union, and it brought about smiles. So what would you say to folks who are still trying to figure out, should I go, should I not go, and you know,
The thing about it is that I believe nothing beats the experience of sitting down and reminiscing about the good old days. You know what I say sometimes? I say, you guys, I mean, their teachers who might have said, you guys are the worst, they live that you so bad.
mhm,
I sometimes say, your generation, you all are like angels to the kinds of students that I hear my daughter would come home and complain about because she happens to be a teacher at the Georgetown Secondary.
mhm,
And I've been there. They've asked me for help in, as usual, in music, training choirs, in dramatic presentations. I've written plays for them at the school and all of that. So sometimes I go there and I say the same thing. I say, guys, you listen to me. When I'm here doing this thing, I want all the attention. So those of you who cannot afford to do that, you can leave now. I've worked with Police Youth Club, and I would tell them the same thing. I would say the same thing to them. So there's nothing that beats this whole idea of sitting down and listening to these stories and so on.
mhm.
It's going to provide you with an opportunity to reconnect
True.
and to maybe establish some networks which you can find so
Definitely.
very useful in the future because I'm going to do that. I think my WhatsApp contacts would be widened. As a matter of fact, I know of Ina on my
Mhm.
WhatsApp contact list. And there's somebody, I'm not sure who the person is. I just not see a
I
number,
think it would be
but
Kiana.
I'm
Kiana.
not
I think it
sure
would
who
be
the
Kiana.
person. So I'm actually looking forward to meeting some of you folks again. Some names I'm not going to be able to remember, but of course I remember the faces. So it's going to provide us with that opportunity to connect. And then
Mhm.
another thing it could do, because I know there are persons who are willing to help, it can open doors of opportunity where you might be able to make a contribution into somebody's life. Maybe
True.
in a similar way that the teachers would have contributed to your own development. You'd hear stories, you'd see things, you'd establish a network, and you should never give up on North Union. I'm not sure exactly what is happening there now, but I have a daughter who is teaching there as well. I
Mhm.
have friends who are teaching at North Union Secondary School. And I always inquire, as a matter of fact, the physical education teacher, as soon as he got his results, he sent them to me. 100% passes, mainly ones. I think if it's 9 persons who went for the exam, I think 7 ones and 2 twos, something like that. So I'm still pretty close to persons at North Union. As a matter of fact, because Joshua Secondary School was the last place where I taught as principal, I would look first for Joshua Secondary School, and the next school I'm going to look up for is North Union. If North Union is involved in anything, I am going to back North Union. Maybe if it's against Georgia Secondary, well, I'd hope Georgia Secondary will enter because I actually was principal there for a number of years. But I think it's a very, very good concept.
Mhm.
We actually tried a couple of times to see if we could have brought teachers together. All right, we started to make up a list, Brayton Horn, Howie Prince, Beryl Walker, and so on. But it never really took off. So that's why this initiative is so good.
Yeah, we actually collected a list of teachers though, that we plan in the future to even see if we can get together, you know. But that will come at another time. And you said it perfectly because in terms of networking and seeing that they can help. Well, and I'll let it out of the bag here that there are a number of persons have came forward and they made contributions like um, Mr. Garton Collins, for example.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he made a significant donation in terms of computers. So we have a week of activities coming up from the 23rd to the 30th, which is the gala is gonna crown it out at the 30th. The Monday we're going into the school to provide some mentorship. Going into school to provide some mentorship, and we will be handing over about approximately 100 computers, laptop, and desktop.
To
So
students or to the school itself.
to the school itself.
That is so good.
Yeah, and there's more to come, and I know some alumni, they have made some significant contribution in terms of helping to donate funds to purchase trophies and awards for the graduation ceremony. So like I should tell you now, we are a group of 230 something on the WhatsApp. You know, so we're growing. What started with about eight of us, we're now 230 something, and people are connecting. We do have, you know, hangouts where we like on a Sunday nights, we will get online and stuff like that. It's a little bit challenging sometimes because like if I'm from this era, I don't see anybody else in my era there, so it becomes kind of boring. But that's what the reunion would be all about. That you know, you bring your crew, you know, pretty much, so that you can, you know, interact, reminisce, and have a good time. You know,
Is Herbert gonna be there?
yeah,
That
yes, he is not 100% sure. I think he used some kind of terminology in terms of he's not mobile enough. You know, Howard is always gonna give you some kind of talk.
he's actually my neighbor.
Yeah,
He's actually my neighbor.
yeah, I'm hoping that when I actually get there to actually go and pull him out and say, hey, you gotta be there, you know.
So you plan to visit him?
Yeah, well, because he's kind of little resilient in terms of whether or not he's gonna come. Because he hasn't he didn't say no.
You didn't give us
He's excited though. He's excited though. You know, I'm gonna personally let him know that he has to be there. You know,
So
so
tomorrow I'm gonna ask him and say, "How about you going?"
not to go. Tell him he's coming.
Because as I say, we are neighbors. There's just a low wall that separates us.
Mm-hmm.
So I see Herbert every day. I see his wife every day.
Right. So we have 10 teachers who are gonna be honored at that time, and it's 10 because some have moved on to the like you say
Great beyond.
the great beyond, and you know, ultimately we would have loved to do something, and I think in the future we'll do something about those that have moved on who have made their contribution as well. You know. Yeah, so it's really an exciting. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it, and like 2009, I was planning this reunion thing, and it fell through in 2011. And we did it, give it another shot again, and this is where we are right now. You know, so looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's really an event to look forward to. I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it.
how long was your tenure at North Union at the North Union Secondary School?
19 years.
Wow,
I
19 years.
From 1979 to 1998.
Wow. You gave us 19 years of your life.
Yes. Of course, I mean, there were 2 years university,
Right.
1 year at an institute in St. Lucia. So there were 3 years of study during that time. But every time I returned to North Union Secondary School. So, and it was in 1998. As a matter of fact, when I went to do my first degree, it was actually part of a grand plan because the Georgetown Secondary School was under construction, and they had decided to send a number of teachers to university to train in the core areas. I happened to be one of them. Elvis Daniel, I think, was one of them as well. Karen Thomas, quite a number of persons went to train to come back to start that institution. Then I was transferred from North Union Secondary School to Georgetown Secondary School, became the deputy principal, and then later on, the principal of Georgetown Secondary.
Okay, this is that's what I was going to ask you before, because I heard you said you were the principal of
Georgetown Secondary School.
Georgetown Secondary School.
As a matter of fact, if you visit Herbert, you realize that we live right. You can say we live in the school's backyard. And I told people it could literally take me a minute to get to school. All right. Because there's a gate that is opposite my gate. So if I use that gate, I just have to cross the road and I'm on the school compound. But listen to me, Morton. Those 19 years at North Union were probably the best years of my teaching experience. I remember when you become a qualified assistant teacher, every, I think, 4 years, you accumulate a certain amount of leave, which you can take. They call it long leave. My first, because I left college in 1979. So in 1983, I would have been due long leave. I said, what do I want long leave for? And I'm enjoying school so much. School is such a great. When my second long leave was due, I didn't take it either. I just remained at school. I said, I really don't want to stay home because you look forward to going to school to meet Dennis Jones and Albert Jazz and Chico and the staff. I mean, we had a staff that was so unified.
Family.
We had a staff. We could have had night parties, and even some of the traditional people attended. Elvis Daniel attended night parties. Norma Jackson attended the night parties we had. And these are people you might think might not want to, but it was like, as you say, like family. We were together. We had a principal. Henry knew how to pull people together. I think he had that sort of skill. Let me say Alvin Henry or not just Henry. You know, I think he was good in causing that staff to gel. And one of the things I learned is that he actually handpicked a number of teachers to come to North Union Secondary School to start the school. So he had some mature, very mature people who can be father figures and mother figures to the students who were coming in. And then, of course, there was a blend of young people coming from A-level college and teachers college and so on. So we had a pretty nice blend of youth and experience on our staff. And of course, we had those end of year cricket matches where we would challenge a staff school. And school was beautiful. School was enjoyable. School was lovely.
You're so right in that, you know. You are so right in that. The staff was so versatile, the staff, that you had people on the staff who would go and, I mean, teachers who would go and play netball.
Yes.
You know, the male, they can play a little soccer and they can play a little cricket. They can play, you know. And it was amazing, you know, it's amazing. And I'd love to see you guys get back together as well as a unit, just like how
it would be so very good.
So we have a list that we have with all the teachers. Well, not all, hopefully all. We don't miss anybody. And we're just trying to do something with them, not this time around, but in the future. And hopefully that because life is short, you know, we And
Yeah.
that's why it's so important that this reunion um takes center stage right now, because look, I can tell you myself, is Daniel was on the list of honorees,
Um,
you know,
I
and
I'm still very touched by his death because we were
yeah,
close. I was the
yeah,
best man in his wedding when he got married.
yeah, he
Uh,
oh yeah,
yeah, I was the best man in his wedding. As
oh,
and those last days, I mean, it was tough to look
mhm.
at him just wasting away. Believe in me, visited
Yeah,
him times, and then we
yeah,
were political brothers in arms,
hmm,
and that sort of thing. So, but
yeah, so
I am still grappling because the activity that we went out today on in the
mhm,
field, doing some political business, and he would have been there because he was part of that team that
mhm.
was on the ground. He would have been
uh, yes, for sure. I know he was greatly involved in it as well.
there.
And you so as for you as well, you did touch a little into politics. I know we don't want to go into it, but
Um,
it's important for folks to know that you're you're a community man as well. It's not just you're looking after students, but I think you believe that you have a significant contribution for the community that you can make for the community.
I've been doing quite a bit of community work. As a matter of fact, since I was pretty young, I remember being the chairman of the Georgetown Health team. I was shocked when I was voted into that position. I remember starting an organization we call GASA, Georgetown Area Sports Association. The younger guys are still maintain that name because we developed a constitution organizing the soccer and the cricket and the netball and so on in the area. I spearheaded a Georgetown festival at one point, which I hope would be an annual event. But that year when we had the Vinci Homecoming thing, the National Vinci Homecoming Festival, as part of that, I spearheaded a Georgetown festival, which was some activities that ran over, I think it was a 2 week period, culminate with, I mean, it was a variety of activities and it was so good. I wanted it to be an annual event, but it requires quite a lot of input, financial and otherwise. And when we tried to repeat it the following year, we got very little help from like the Ministry of Culture and so on. But the year before, when it was Vinci Homecoming, they were quite willing to assist because it sort of just fitted in well with the whole national event. But it's still something that I'd like to see happen. It is still something that I can push for. And as far as my involvement in politics is concerned, I am happy to a certain extent that I was involved because there's some things I believe in. I actually got those things to be written into our manifesto so
Mhm,
that whenever the NDP forms government, there's certain things that of course remind them about those sort of things. And a lot of it come out of my experiences
mhm.
because I I don't know who paid for my GC and CXC training. I don't know who paid for them. I simply attended classes for free,
Right, right.
wrote the subjects, passed them. I would love to see a similar thing happen now because I mean, not everybody
Mhm.
is able to pay and so on. I did not mention this, but I actually did a stint with the community college as well.
Oh yeah.
I actually worked with the community college for a year.
Oh,
That was the year it ended when I entered politics. But I entered politics knowing I wasn't going to win because I was
mhm,
up against the prime minister. But the union had an agreement that if we don't win, we can reapply for our positions and get them back. So
mhm.
it was on that basis I went in.
Yeah.
All right.
Fair
I,
enough. Nothing to lose.
yeah, I was the outreach officer. All right.
Mm,
I was like a dean responsible for the outreach department of the community college. That was to establish an outreach program within the community. That is, taking the community college programs into the different districts in St. Vincent and the Grenadines so that persons can access programs without actually attending the college.
Wow.
And that actually started one center in Georgetown where we're offering, I think, about 6 advanced level subjects. So you could work, and then on afternoons at 6 o'clock, you go to a class, 6 to 8. And you do your advanced maths or your advanced geography or advanced psychology and that sort of thing. And I'd already done the groundwork for one in Beckway, one in Maraqua, and one in North Leeward. I already had the lecturers listed, negotiated with them, not asking for a lot of money, just accepting something that is moderate. So I actually had all of that. But then when I went into politics and I wasn't giving up my job, that was the end of that program. I still would like to see that happen because I was actually aiming up to the level of associate degree programs offered in the different communities from the community college. So I had plans. So all those other things, they're somewhere in the manifesto, so they can still happen because I believe they're very useful.
And that's important for what you're saying there, as well, because for me, I grew up poor as well, but I just realized now that, like, because it's now people are talking about their school days, right? I realized that a lot of people were even poorer than I was, than how I grew up. I never went to school without food, but I've heard numerous stories of people who went to school without food and without lunches and stuff like that. So part of the alumni, my vision, part of my vision for it as well would be because I heard story of last year, one student couldn't go to his graduation ball because he couldn't afford the ticket. And I wish that was known to us, prior to that. Not that, we want people to come and take advantage, but genuinely, if those kind of things, it's a once in a lifetime opportunity. So, why would someone why we can't sponsor someone who couldn't afford the ticket to go, So I would like to have, something set up where if a student, can afford meals, and I'm not talking about someone who's living close to the school. You know what I mean? Someone
they
who's,
can go
we can have a system where, especially North Union, where we had a school tuck shop. They can have meal there, not maybe not on a consistent basis, but whenever we can help out, we can help out. I would like to see those kind of systems where people should not be stifled because they can't afford something in and around education.
I know. You see, because of my involvement in politics, a lot of these situations come to me. As a matter of fact, it was just 2 days ago, I received a phone call. A parent was asking me for financial contribution to go and register her daughter at the community college because she said she could not come up with the $600+.
Oh.
So I said, okay, you come by, I'll give you X amount. And so she came in the morning, collected it, and so on, because that girl is very intelligent. I actually attended her graduation from the Dixon Methodist School. That year, they had asked me to be the guest speaker, and I was impressed with her performance. And then she did pretty well at CXC. She did the 8 subjects. I think she got 7 1s and a 2, something like that.
Wow.
So when the mother put that to me, I couldn't say no. I just couldn't say no. And so you have all these needs. There are a lot of needs. Textbooks, school supplies, and so on. So there are things that I guess when you come face to face, you'd be able to discuss this.
Yeah.
You're meeting with the principal and staff, so I guess they might be able to highlight some of the basic needs, the more important needs that they have at the school. So you might be able to find areas where you can pitch in and help.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I like that's why I don't really call these more an interview. I call them conversation. You know, yeah, because an interview is just me asking you a question and you giving me an answer. And, so yeah, so that's why I like to call it a conversation. Even on my regular YouTube things, it's like that. Normally, people they're hesitant to come on, but when they come on, they don't want to leave. Like even between you and I now, it wasn't supposed to be so long. But
What's the time?
so
Listen to me. I know, look at the time. I didn't even realize it's already 8 o'clock. It's
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah, so yeah, so we'll just wrap up, and I know we have a lot to catch up on whenever we meet,
What it means, basically.
it's gonna be one heck of a time. You've been teaching maybe what, over 4 decades, 5 decades?
40 odd years. Well, I'm still teaching, but in the system,
Mm,
um, I started when I was 14, and then I lost my job. I think I had 1 more year to go before retirement. So I could have been 53. I would have been 54 the January, and then worked another year to be 55 and retired.
mm,
So it means I would have done around 39 years before I was denied continuation of my job.
mhm. Oh, that's
So,
another story.
and
You're
then North Union got 19 of those years,
hmm,
which is,
wow.
you can say, just about half of my actual formal teaching time I spent at North Union Secondary School.
Hmm. Well, like I said again, on behalf of the alumni and those outside of North Union, um, we really appreciate, what you have done for us. Many of us have had direct success from you and indirect success, but altogether, I think your contribution um, is countless, and I know you haven't regret one bit of it, and we as well. We That's why we're so happy right now to give back in whatever way we can. For those of us who can't give back financially, we can, give support. We want to create um, a mentorship program where students can um, be attached to someone in maybe one department. For example, if someone wants to be, a nurse, they can have that mentorship into nursing, and might help them decide what's in the future if they're having maybe some issues with certain things, and maybe just everyday life. If
Yeah.
you want to know how you combat certain things, you know we want to create that environment with the alumni to make North Union, like Trump would say, make North Union great again.
Oh,
Yeah. So
that's really good.
yeah. So I mean, if there's anything that I haven't touched that you would like to mention, feel free to do so now, and we can always touch base again. With
Um,
updates.
well, we touched on so many things,
Yeah.
so many things. So I really can't think of anything else. It's just that I remember at one time we actually referred to North Union as the grammar school in the country.
Mhm.
That is because we were excelling not only in sports and music, but we started to do so very well in the academics as well.
Academic.
So
True.
we actually used to call ourselves the grammar school in the country area,
Mhm.
because it was
Mhm.
so satisfying. And you're proud to associate with North Union Secondary School.
True.
Weren't afraid to say I'm teaching at North Union Secondary School at all. So the school still does well in certain areas and so on.
Mhm.
So whenever you meet with the student body and so on, you can tell them some of the stories, how good you guys were, how much
Mhm.
you excelled in the different areas and challenge them to aim to keep that flag flying.
True. That's what we plan to do on the Monday for the mentorship. You know, I'll forward you the week of activities that we have, and you know, you guys are free to come out and you know hang out. You know, to some of the event. We have a moonlight picnic. You know, we have a beach or river cookout. We have even a karaoke night because you can't see North Union without music. So we have a karaoke night. Yeah. So at the moonlight picnic, we plan to try to do some of those if we can get some of those folk songs as well.
Okay, Mr. President.
Yeah, I can't even call him my English teacher because you already.
It was rewarding. I mean, the time went by so quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, just imagine when we get together and reminisce and started, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, talking about some of the bad we can't even talk and laugh about it because you know social media. So we'll have to do that in person, you know.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a pleasure. Really, it was really a pleasure talking to you. You know, whenever I talk to someone from North Union, it brings about a smile on my face. So you know, it's my heart still lies there. It's, you know, like I tell people, that's where my navel string was cut. So in terms of education. So, you know, I really appreciate everything. And it's good that is now I can look back and reflect and say, you know, have I done my best? You know, so I don't want other students to get into that corner to say, have I done my best? You know, I want them to be able to do their best. You know, I know I haven't done my best back then, and you know, thankfully now it's, you know, life is good. So, you know, yeah. So I just want to thank you again, man, for the opportunity and you know, for sharing. You know, I know it's part of your story, not your full story.
Just part of it.
Yeah.
There's so much more that could be said. Let me thank you for having me. As I said, I mean, the time went by so quickly. I can't believe that we were chatting here for more than an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why this reunion thing is gonna be crazy. Okay, Mr. Johnson. So we'll touch base, and I guess we'll see pretty soon.
Yeah. Enjoy the rest of the evening, and I look forward to meeting you in the flesh.
All right.